Welcome to the Earn Interest Podcast, the business school for the culture. This is your host, Pedro Moore, serial entrepreneur and venture capitalist. This is the podcast for commentary, conversation, and practical tips on all things business, startups, and entrepreneurship for those looking to chase after their dreams. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the third episode of Earn Interest. This is your host, Pedro Moore, serial entrepreneur and venture capitalist, here with my co-host,
what up,
producer, Mr. Dion Ringle.
Yes. You excited, man?
Episode absolutely.
3, all his work. You got new babies. It's going to be fun.
Yes. Life is lifing right now.
Yeah.
Put it like that. I'm excited about this particular episode because we're going to talk about Deadpool star Ryan Reynolds selling his company, Mint Mobile. Also talking about Jordan possibly selling the Hornets.
Yeah.
And then say it again.
I don't like it. But we get into it, but I don't like it.
Yeah. I got my opinion on that too. And then, of course, the main topic for today, which is the black circulation of the dollar in our community. What the real problem is. Is it the spending or is it the ownership? The main problem. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah. So it's funny. So I know before we get into it, we got to kind of plug. You just did this major venture capitalist panel, a couple of days ago in Delaware? So what was that like? So the clip that you just put up, so walk me through. What was that like?
Sure,
what was you talking about?
Absolutely. It was actually in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, even better.
Which, by the way, is a beautiful city. They're really doing a lot of great things down there. It was a conference called Access Granted. A young lady by the name of Sinika, she asked me as to be a guest panelist. And it was a conference because we all know that Black and brown businesses struggle to access capital, regardless of its entrepreneurship or real estate. So she wanted to put together a conference to connect people from the capital provider world as well as the entrepreneur world and bring them all together to have conversation to help our people get access to capital. But it was a great event. I met a lot of entrepreneurs out there. I shared a lot of insight, do my best to add value to help them get access to capital. Yeah. But also it was a great time for family too, because I have some family down there in Charlotte. So it was a great event.
Yeah, a lot of people, you don't talk a lot about it, but a lot of people may not know that you're also an advisor to one of the Sharks, Damon Johns. Does that come up when you're in that space and you're talking about, being able to get capital? Does that come up on how you advise people to go about getting capital too?
Sometimes it comes up, especially if people have a conversation of trying to apply to be on Shark Tank. But other times it may not because of my experience of working at a venture firm, a lot of that people are asking, like, how do I get access to capital from venture capitalists? And so I get to talk to that. Also, I work with a lot of other angel investors that invest in various type of companies. And so it all depends. But at times it does come up, but not always.
Gotcha. I feel like we need to just plug that more. So there's somebody who don't need no capital right now. So Ryan Reynolds, I'm going to read this. This is from Fortune.com. Ryan Reynolds Mint Mobile sell will earn him an estimate of $300 million. So this is crazy. So the entire sell, because I don't think it was even really highly talked about, but they bought their parent company too to Mint Mobile.
Okay, yeah, I did not know that. Okay.
The whole value is $1.3 billion T-Mobile is buying them for, right? Including their parent company that has some, some other things that T-Mobile might be interested in. Because from T-Mobile's vantage point, I guess they're trying to grow in their prepaid space. Mm-hmm. So that's probably where that makes the most sense, right? So when you seen that, you read that news, what was your response? I know money is your thing, so your business model probably went somewhere completely different.
Yeah. So when first I was just it's great to see celebrities get into more business dealings. We could probably identify growing up. You didn't. It was just celebrities were just on TV.
Yeah.
You didn't really see them do any type of business transactions offline. So first, it was great to see that. I do like Ryan Reynolds, so it was great to see him start entering into my world of, let's just call it venture capital. Yeah. And so I was excited to see that. And then I did have a little concern. I was like, okay, is he going to really keep going with this Deadpool thing since he's over here making all this money? Right. But it was great to see that because it's because I started seeing the commercials, and it was great to see that Ryan Reynolds was able to use his brand, his celebrity status, and I believe he did actually invest money into the company as well, to help grow that company and get it to the stage that it is today, to get a I'm assuming a profitable exit.
Yeah, so they said that back in 2019, he purchased a majority ownership with stake in them, and he's also like the creative role on behalf of the brand as a spokesperson, obviously. So he's in all the commercials. So the parent company, they also own Ultra Mobile, an international calling service. So I guess that's similar to maybe like a WhatsApp or something like that. So I wonder why T-Mobile has interest in that. So just from a deal perspective, does that sound like a worthy deal from T-Mobile? Do you think that 1.3 billion is actually a good value for them?
Probably because T-Mobile in this game, wireless is very competitive, right? And for them, it's probably access to a new type of audience that they probably just could not get to from a profitable standpoint on their own.
Yeah.
And so by acquiring Mint, it was probably a strategy to allow them to get entry point into this market that they probably wouldn't have been able to get into themselves. And so they're thinking that if I pay $1.3 billion, maybe in the next X amount of years, I'm able to make even more money off of that through these users. I'm not sure the revenue for Mint, but I'm sure whatever they're making rolls right under to T-Mobile, so T-Mobile's revenue obviously will go up as well.
Yeah. And I think that helps now because technically, kind of by virtue, I guess Ryan Reynolds almost becomes a spokesperson for T-Mobile, really, right? So they kind of inherited that. So I feel like that's a good inheritance, right? If somebody left me Ryan Reynolds in my will, I'd be like, thank you.
Yeah. He's the example of what they say. You want to have multiple streams of income. He's getting checks from movies, of course, and he's getting checks from just being a spokesperson.
Yeah, I love that. So he getting the bag, and they just had a new baby. So shout out to them, and shout out to Blake Lively because I love Blake Lively.
Yeah.
So, let's get into my favorite segment, take it or leave it. I think it caused some controversy. We need to make sure that goes up on Instagram, the last one. But so right now, Michael Jordan, the only black majority stakes owner of any professional sports, is considering selling the Charlotte Hornets, right? And I think the amount that he was selling is like a 1.7 billion. Right, which is crazy because when he bought it for 185 million. Ain't that crazy? Back in 2008 or something like that, 2009, something like that.
Yeah.
So that's a deal, and he got it from another black who was Bob Johnson, from who used to own BET. Remember, he had the Bobcats. That's so funny that he made it the Bobcats because that was his name. Whole nother conversation, right? So Michael Jordan's selling for if somebody buys it, right? And there's some people talking about buying it. Tyler Perry, Diddy. Even Pinky Cole, Slutty Vegan owner, is trying to get her and a whole bunch of people to become a part of that. So she did a plug on social media about that. $1.77 billion for the Charlotte Hornets. Is that a deal that you would take, or is that a deal that you're going to leave?
Again, because, as you said earlier, I come from the money side, I will take it as, I know I'm going to get dinged for this, but I'll take it as exit.
Okay,
and my reason for that is because getting almost a 10 times return within a 10-year period, I think it was probably 12 years, but within that time frame is really great. It's really good. Most people that invest in anything, venture capitalists, private equity firms, et cetera, will love that type of return. So I would take it as an exit, sell it, take the money, and look into something else. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because Bob Johnson, we there's a lot of things in our community about selling companies, but Bob Johnson may not have been able to even purchase the team at first if he didn't even sell BET.
That's a good point.
So, but that's my angle of get out, you have a good return, assuming that someone buys it at that price, and then now look for other things you can park your money into. And that's my assumption that maybe the reason with Jordan is that maybe he has some other things that we may not know about. It might be absolute retirement, maybe, or some other reason we just don't know. Right. That's my 2 cents.
Gambling debt, maybe. No, I'm kidding. Ha. So, what do you think? I have a lot of thoughts on it. But let me ask you: do you think that's a good value for somebody to buy it to buy the Charlotte Hornets for $1.77 billion?
Great question. I don't know. However, I will say the costs of NBA teams today are insane. I remember when, I can't remember what team it was, but there was one owner.
The Phoenix Suns? because
I don't think it
they're up
was
for sale right now.
okay. I don't think I know. No, it was another guy. This was some time ago, but he bought the team I think about 30 years ago.
Mhm.
And he only paid maybe a few million for it or
Yeah,
something like that, and
yeah.
now it's worth billions.
Yeah, I think that was Portland. I think that was he passed away, but the guy who used to own Microsoft was it I think it was Paul.
Oh, I know the
You know what I'm talking about?
co-founder. Yeah.
Because he owned the Seahawks too.
Yeah.
But I think it was him because I think he got them literally for a couple $1 million.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
It was just
Paul
so.
Allen,
But now today, the market has changed. They become very expensive. However, with that, kind of using this group economics model, even with Pinky, even though Pinky may not be able to, I don't know her personal financials, but she could participate.
Yeah.
You know, if there is a lead that plans to buy it and they can let her in.
Yep.
She could participate.
Yep.
Similar to I think Will Smith owns a piece of Sixers.
He used to.
He used to. Okay.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
similar scenario.
Yep.
You know, so there could be some opportunities which may work, but I don't know if that's the right price. I guess it really comes down to whoever cuts the check. You know?
Yeah. Because the Charlotte Hornets, I mean, the brand, I think the branding, the merchandising, there is a lot of money to be gained there. There's a lot of licensing. Those colorways are probably top 5 in the NBA, right?
Yes.
So even when there was no team there, people were still wearing the merchandise. So I think there's money to be made there. Superstars, lack of superstars is probably the big issue, right?
Yeah.
And drawing people. And Charlotte is a major city. It's a
Correct.
pretty city.
It is.
So you would think the right person would be able to draw people there. But if Michael Jordan couldn't, maybe that's a hindrance for somebody to try to buy it. But there are people right now that are interested, right? So you're talking Diddy. You're talking no, he wants BET. Sorry, it's not Diddy. Who was the person recently who talked about maybe buying it? But there's other people who are considering or want him to sell it to another black person, right? But how many black people right now that we can name got that type of money, right?
Yeah.
And that can put that kind of risk. So I'm of two minds about it because I'm an impact guy first. I've never been one for the preservation of money, right? So to me, it has to be bigger than the money. It's almost to the Deion Sanders thing. If he sells, more than likely the chances of a black person being able to afford it is literally, we can think of 5 people, right? And I don't think they're interested in doing that. A lot of them are more interested in the media space just because of where content is, right?
Correct.
So it seems more sexy to buy BET than the Charlotte Hornets.
Correct.
So to me, him selling it is like, dude, you're literally the only one. You're the last one, the only one.
Yeah.
So it's just, for me, I hate that. Same reason why I hate it when, and I don't like BET, but I hate it when they sold BET, when BET was no longer black owned, right? It's just, there's this thing, reading comic books back in the day, there's this comic book character named Luke Cage. And Luke Cage was written by a white person. And even the language, you can tell he used to say things like, jive and all these other weird things that black people don't say. So you can tell there was a white person writing. I feel it's the same way when there's an organization, whether it's BET or the Charlotte Hornets, it's not going to be the same kind of culture. It's going to be them trying to simulate what they think. It's going to be a caricature of black culture. Yeah. So I have a problem with that. So so I'm of a mind we need black people. We need that representation. Michael Jordan doing it. It's great, even though it felt token because you got to be the greatest of all time to even own a sports team. But, for that reason. But at the same time, I mean, who am I to tell this man not to get his bag? And maybe he's just done.
And you make a great valid point, and that's the part that's conflicting because, again, with BET, if Bob Johnson didn't do that, he wouldn't even been able to be the first one to even own the team, right?
Right.
And he also created a lot of other black millionaires, and so it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if there's ever going to be almost like a perfect yes answer because both sides, you make a lot of great valid points. And to your point, that's kind of the reason why BT's up for sale again. And they specifically said they want black investors to be a majority stake owner. So you're absolutely right. But it's one of those things where it's sometimes it has to happen for someone to make another move. Because if Bob Johnson didn't do what he did, would Jordan have been able to even get in the door to what he's doing today? You know what I mean? And so it's tough. You know what I mean?
We're probably going to tackle the BET thing in the next episode. The people that's interested in buying BET is very interested, especially because Diddy already owns Revolt, and he to me he kind of already feels like he owns BET too. When they had his girlfriend win that podcast award, I'm still not over. She had no business winning that. But anyway, so let's get into the main topic that we're going to get into. So there was a clip that she showed me offline on TikTok where they're talking about this idea of the black dollar circulating. So let's get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all have heard it before. There are some statistics that talk about I got to pull them up, so bear with me. So I want to make sure.
Want me to do some music? Oh no, we might get sued for that one. With some
other good
Joe,
ones?
with some royalty-free music I can hum to. And while he looks this up, do we got anything? I can do a union, John. Right? What's the UN thing? How's that beat go? We can do that, right? I think that's license free. We won't get sued for that. I know a guy.
So like the clip basically talks about the issue with our community not being able to empower each other by spending.
Yeah.
And so he talks about the $1 trillion spending power that we have. The I think it's $6 spending power that we have, and that how 98% of the money that we have goes to other communities.
Wow, 98%.
Yeah, yes. And so I wanted to bring up some of those statistics, which talked about that in our community, money circulates only one time compared to the Latino community that circulates 6 times, Asians 9 times. And then for the white communities, it's unlimited.
Right.
And so it's unreal.
Yeah.
And all those little things, part of the reason why they project that our net worth will be zero within the next few decades is because of small things like this. And so most of the time we do talk about spending. I kind of have a little bit of a different angle in it. I personally believe that it's not necessarily. I do think there is a spending problem, but I don't think it's solely a spending problem. I feel like it's also a ownership problem.
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like we wouldn't have to beg for black people to spend with other black people or brown people if we own things that you don't even have to think about. So, for example, a hospital.
Yeah.
Right? Jordan, we just talked about Jordan. Whenever you buy tickets for the stadium, that is supporting a black-owned business because it is owned by a majority black person. And so, but if we own more things that are part of our daily life, I feel like that number will jump up significantly, but we don't own a lot of businesses that we deal with. Even the guy who posted that video, he's talking about that, but he has a t-shirt company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not against t-shirt brands, but it's like, I didn't want to say that, but I understand what it's one of those things. It's like, do we need that many t-shirt brands, or could we have someone that put more time into owning a car dealership? All right, I just had to buy a new car, right? The whole thing's
a car repair place, right? Like, what if we owned a Mighty Key, right?
Exactly. So if we own a lot of those things that we have to spend money on, we wouldn't be 1 time. It will be automatically 6 times or almost unlimited because those are things that we have to spend on our daily life. Medicine, obviously clothes, but insurance, a house, the place where if you want to buy a new home, the neighborhood or whatever the case may be. So
when you look at the data, where would you say a good place where we could get into that? So with the digital wallet, do you think banking is kind of our entry point to start to alleviate that gap, right? That's going to leave us at zero. So I think it's Greenwood, right? They have they're opening, I guess, banks with Killer Mike and all those. Do you think banking is the first step, or do you think it should be more hospitals or apartments? Like, where do you see the entry point for us? Because we're producing more millionaires, but as we talked about on episode 1, you guys should go check that out. It's not closing the wealth gap at all.
Yeah. I think it's personally, I would say first, we need more millionaires. We need more higher income earners. Then after that, we have to have someone to take that risk to own businesses that are more, have more market potential to it.
Yeah.
meaning that that everyone needs.
Yeah, it's a more general population thing where it's not so niche.
Not so niche. And even if it is a niche, but still, it's a business that we need on a routine basis.
Now let me ask you that, because some of the pushback. So what if we, a grocery store or a farmer's market, like if black people own Sprouts or Whole Foods, right, and we tried to put them in other neighborhoods that are not just black, would that fix it, or do you think they wouldn't support it though? Because I think that's a lot of the pushback too when you think about general pop. So I think it's Byron Allen. He owns the Weather Channel, right? Weather Channel, everybody checks the weather, right? Doesn't matter. So to your point, that's something that you don't have to think about. I need to check the weather, right?
Correct.
But if we start doing those things, the risk of us not supporting our own people, and then the idea of having to put it in a neighborhood where you think people will do that, but you're not putting it in a black neighborhood. Is that an issue?
So I'm not
gonna lie. If I open a Whole Foods, I'm gonna be afraid to put it in West Philly. I'm like, they're not gonna go.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start with to answer that question. I'm gonna start with a statement that I always like to say. And I'm probably gonna get hit for this too, but I don't like to say that I'm a black-owned business. I like to say that I'm a business that happens to be black-owned, meaning that I start with the business first. So, for example, you mentioned Byron Allen. Man, I'm starting on my word. Yes,
good. We know who he is. He's rich. Y'all
Yeah. He's rich. He's the rich guy.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, he has I love his backstory of how he got to this level.
Yeah.
He started off as a comedian.
Exactly.
But anyway, the fact that Weather Channel is a product for anybody, right? He doesn't necessarily advertise that it's a black-owned media company. He just says that I'm a media company that happens to be black-owned, right? And so if you did own a Whole Foods, it would be more of, to put my venture capitalist hat on, I like to solve or fill gaps in areas. So I don't care who really own. Well, I want to see more people own it, but have the product serve the people who needs the product.
Exactly.
So if it's a grocery store and it's having a black or brown owned, but the audience that needs that grocery store don't look like you. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't. That doesn't bother me. So it's just a matter of building a business that caters to an audience that needs that product or needs that service.
Because I think a lot of it becomes overwhelming when you say a hospital. I automatically check out. I don't know anybody that could afford a hospital right now, right?
True, but urgent cares. So I actually know. I say hospitals just. There are people that there are people that can access it or own it.
And
more even.
It?
Say it again.
And sustain a hospital.
There's private equity or firms that own hospitals.
Okay.
But let's just say, because I actually know a black gentleman that owns an urgent care center. But with the urgent care center, that's an example of a service or business that is essential to any neighborhood. Any neighborhood, right? And we need a lot of those. Just imagine if we had a lot more of those, regardless of the neighborhood. Regardless of the neighborhood, right? That would help circulate the black dollar, right? Even I'm gonna talk about franchises. Franchises, even though they do share a little bit of revenue with their franchisor, but again, the bulk is their own, right? So I know a guy that owns several Dunkin' Donuts. You don't always see his face, but every time you support that location, that dollar's going back to him and his family. And so
let me ask you this: does it matter then where he spends that dollar? So let's say that business owner, right? Okay, we're patroning his company, but where does he spend that money? Where does he invest? He has to also invest in black business, right? So when he does his marketing, he should go to the black media, right? When you got whatever it is, you also have to spend that money there. Or to me, it still sounds like we run into the same problem.
So a little bit of both. I feel like we still do probably run into the same problem, but I believe that we all should do our best effort at least to support someone that looks like us. Put our best foot forward to at least attempt.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because the reason why I say best effort, because sometimes it doesn't always work out that way, and you go with what's the best option for you. But at least attempt or try to at least even look for something. But
I think a lot of that's collaboration too, right? Because you mentioned Pinky Cole earlier. She's clearly, doing well. Her business is thriving, but she may not be a person who can go buy $1 billion company. So what do you say to that pushback where it's like, hey, we would do that, but we don't support our own when it talks about collaboration? what does the data say about that? Because to your other point, I think a lot of times the dollar circulates in these other cultures because a lot of them continue to only do business with each other.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
We were talking about you mentioned her possibly trying to buy the Hornets.
Yeah.
That's an example
Or
of
BT, sorry.
BT. Okay, well we'll just talk about BT for a second. As a leverage or a collaboration, a collaboration on the investment side. So for her, if I were, let's just say I had the money to buy BET, right?
You do, but it's okay.
Lord willing, right? Claim it. I would probably let her be part of the cap table.
Yeah.
Why? Because she has value,
Yeah.
right? Allow her to, she may not be able to afford to buy the whole thing, but allow her to get 1.5%, whatever makes sense.
Yep.
Because she has, she knows how to activate the culture properly.
Yeah.
Right.
In a big way.
And so she is will be an important ingredient. She may not be the majority owner.
Yeah.
She might own a small piece of the pie, but it allows, kind of like Ryan Reynolds, right?
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds only owned 25% in that case,
Yep.
but because of his celebrity status, it helped elevate Mint to where it is today. And a Pinky/BET could possibly do that too.
Great point.
You know?
Yeah. So it's funny you just talked about the cap table, but I know you did a whole breakdown of the Jay-Z song because of that. When you think about who you should invite to that, if you were doing that, who would you invite to that? Just if you can name some names that you think bring that type of value to something.
Oh, great question, and I might have to lean on you too a little bit because of the media strategy.
Yeah.
Well, I would definitely do Pinky just because her marketing
Incredible
ability.
Crushing it.
I might. I don't know why I want to say this, but this is more of a gut. I might want to bring Kevin Hart's team.
I can see that.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wouldn't know how to kind of integrate them a little bit, but I feel like there could be something.
Yeah.
There could be something there. And then Byron Allen, I would probably bring him in too because he's really good in terms of the media advertising.
100%.
So he will, like the other people I mentioned, like Pinky has a part of marketing, brand awareness, et cetera, et cetera. Kevin Hart, probably some creative content.
Yeah, because I mean, look what he's doing with Heartbeat with just the TV content that he's doing.
I think that could be something
that's a
fresh.
Good call. Yeah,
I think that'd be something fresh.
Yeah.
And actually, I linked out to I sent a LinkedIn message to his CEO just to see. I put a plug in her ear and said, hey, why don't y'all try to get in by BET? So
Absolutely.
she ain't reply back
yet. Of this episode.
She's been busy.
That's all.
But yeah, and then Byron.
That's a strong table. That's a strong table. Pinky Cole, Kevin Hart, Pedro Moore, Byron Allen.
I think that's who I'll go. I would like to hear your take because you have more of the media background.
Yeah, so so I can pick anybody.
Or go ahead and pick anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
So number one, I think I have to get somebody in the media space. So I would take Will Toms. The person who owns Rec Philly.
Okay.
So I would take him because that's the other thing too. I like to see people that I can see myself in, and they have a kind of a creative lens, right? I think he's great because what he's done with Rec, he used to have this in North Philadelphia. It was this tall glass building. He turned it into Rec Philly, right? Okay. So I would bring him on, and he's like my age, so I want some people who get it, right? So I'll bring him on. Pinky is interesting because what she's been able to do with Slutty Vegan and eat eat plants book, all the type of things is really genius. But I'm actually gonna curve and I'm gonna say probably somebody like Yara Shahidi. Shahidi because in this socially responsible space and how she integrates those things and really just leverages her celebrity to do actually bigger, more impactful things. I think I would want Yara Shahidi and her team. And because her team is very tight-knit, that's the other thing. It's not too many overlords, I don't want somebody that's like, oh, I got to bring these 100 people with me too. Like Yara Shahidi is like her and her family. You know what I mean? That's doing those things. So give me Yara Shahidi just because her voice and impact and culture. And Gen Z, because I think that's important. Give me Will Toms. Who else would I want? Give me Can I take Will Smith? Is that push?
You know what? Yeah,
Can I get
go
Will
ahead,
Smith?
You know, he was actually in back of my mind. I didn't say him out loud,
Genius.
but I was thinking Will Smith too.
Genius.
I was
All
thinking
his
Will Smith.
content is, people think he's just being silly. All his content is planned.
Oh,
All
absolutely.
of it. Everything
Absolutely.
he does with Westbrook is planned.
Absolutely.
So I would say give me those 3, and I feel like I need somebody with a little bit more money in there because none of them are billionaires yet. Give me.
Yeah, I guess you could.
Yeah,
you gotta
I
have
need
someone
one more
with the money
person
to
with
help
something
pay
like
for
with
the
some
bills.
somebody with a little bit more money, but not as much ego. So, but you already took by. Oh, can I have what's the guy who just paid all the tuition for Morehouse?
Oh,
Robert Smith. Robert Smith.
Yes,
I'll take Robert
yes,
Smith.
Yeah.
I'll take right. He seems very generous with information. He's a
Yeah.
billionaire.
Yeah.
And I think he'll allow creative freedoms for us to kind of fail forward. You know what I mean? Because he got the money for us,
Yeah,
too, right?
absolutely.
Like when you got that kind of money, you can fail forward.
Absolutely. And you
Yeah.
know, his whole background is buying media and tech
100%.
companies. So he has the expertise to come in the door.
Yeah. So I would take that team and go buy BET, because what I do not want to happen is BET to just be BET all over again, but owned by black people, right?
Yeah,
it's like Bomani Jones said
yeah.
that would be funny. He said it's not always. He said, have you worked for BET? It's not always as fun as you think. And if it's just going to be the same old, I don't want that BET.
Yeah, I do agree. I think there has to be, whoever takes it over is almost like a reset.
Exactly, it has to be. It has to show that black people are not a monolith. Our interests, the things that we want to be a part of, the things that we should be introduced to. BET is supposed to be that. That's what BET is supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's not just supposed to be Tyler Perry and College Hill or whatever. It's just like it got to be more than that. It's got to be more than that. That's the reason why I think about it. People like a Yara Shahidi, like what she's able to do in the culture and be her full self and show up as herself. Yeah, that's what I'm taking to the crap table. That's my team. That's my team. And I want everybody to go to your Instagram page of Earn Interest and see whose team is better. My team or Pedro's team.
Yes.
So but yeah, what else you got for us, man?
One, first, thank you for that, and I love that, because that right there is actually a good squad, and I guess time will tell. We'll see what will happen, see. But appreciate you, man.
Yeah, same, man.
This has been amazing. Make sure you guys visit earninterest.com.
Yes.
Also, Earn Interest on Instagram. You can follow me personally on Instagram, Pedro_Moore. Also on Twitter, Pedro Moore. And appreciate you guys.
Yeah, make sure y'all go like, subscribe, smash a button on YouTube, so the episodes will go up on everywhere that you listen to dope podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good jazz. And make sure you also go to the YouTube channel and watch this full video where our guys work really hard behind the scenes. Thank you, Joseph Smith. Appreciate you. Joe Smith. Thank you, Benny Smith. Just to let you know, he's in here. So appreciate you guys for making us look good and sound amazing. So, yeah.
Awesome. Just remember to make friends with money. Peace.